the actors have a chance to talk about themselves and their careers. Join us now for the next hour as we explore the marvelous industry of acting through actors and actresses from today's exciting show business world. And now, here's your host, Ron Brewington.
Hi everybody, I'm Ron Brewington and welcome to The Actor's Choice. Our guest today is a native of Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. He's an actor, an author, and a social media entrepreneur. He's very, very talented and always has a great smile. Every time you see him, he's always showing you them teeth. He looks great, great. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a dear friend, Charles Reese. Charles,
hey,
welcome,
Ron.
sir. Welcome, sir.
How are you? I'm going to try to smile for you. How's that?
You make me want to smile because every time you do that, there's a way about you, you get people to smile.
We do the best we can. It's my mother and me. God rest her soul. Mary Alice Reese.
Amen. Amen, brother. Being from D.C., when did you first get influenced about acting or just being an actor?
That's a good question. You know what? I actually would say it really started with my 6th grade teacher. Okay. Her name is Mrs. Lillian Falk. We lost her this past October. Okay. The first thing she did for me is that she introduced me to the poetry of Langston Hughes. And my very first poem was I Too Sing America, I Am the Darker Brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh. Eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I will eat at the table when company comes, and no one will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they will see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I, too, am America. That's where it really started.
Ouch. Because D.C. is known for politics.
It's a very political town.
Yes.
You know, we dealt with politics as well. You know, you have to be eclectic in D.C. It's a small city. It only has 4 sections.
Yes,
after those 4 sections, then you're outside into Virginia. And we are below the Mason-Dixon line. Yes. So we're very southern.
Very southern.
I grew up with chickens in my backyard.
Urban, of course, those crabs.
Urban, yeah, and all of that.
Oh,
you know.
Yeah,
well, you know, the crabs and that and running to Baltimore to get more crabs.
Yep.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah. Mm-hmm. So I would say my 6th grade teacher kind of sort of, we were calling them recitals, mm-hmm. And that poem I learned when I was in the 6th grade, and I still know it.
Still got it. Wow.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
Education. Yes. Where'd you go to school?
I always like to start Scott Montgomery Elementary School.
Okay.
421 P Street, Northwest. Shaw Junior High School, the old and new. Mm-hmm. We were an experimental school. And in my junior high days, we had what's called an open space school, where we actually had open space school.
Okay.
McKinley Tech High School. Mm-hmm. And then the recruiting came, and I didn't know I wanted to act really at that time per se. So Morehouse came along, and I ended up going to Morehouse College as a psychology major.
Psychology
That's
major.
how I started. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some great people went through Morehouse, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, our most distinguished alumni happens to be, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed, Dr. Martin Luther King. Of course, Samuel L. Jackson, because he hosts the acting thing with us, and Spike Lee. Yeah. And me.
And Joe.
I did earn a BA degree.
Right. In what subject?
Actually, here's the deal. I went in as a psych major, and I met this incredible man by the name of Lamar Alford. And Lamar Alford was a Broadway artist who actually attended Morehouse in the 60s, but he left to be an opera singer.
Okay.
And because of all the rules and regulations, he did not become the opera singer that he wanted to become. He ended up going to be in Broadway. He was the original African-American guy that was in Godspell. And so he did this whole career, went and studied with Ellen Stewart and all those wonderful things, wrote plays. He came back to Morehouse College to get his BA degree in the 80s.
Okay.
And after he graduated, he stayed. He became a dramaturg in residence. I met him, and that's what changed my world. And that's how I started really pursuing acting as a real career-based thing from his tutelage.
I like to say God did that. God, he always does that.
He'll get you when you least. Look, listen, I'm still a work in progress. He'll get you when you least expect. And sometimes, the whole universe is my whole career that's I'm still finding it is kind of sort of a work in progress, and you go by faith.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell our viewers what it was like learning how to act in college.
College is a very undergrad is a very I think I was just trying to find myself, first of all. I think I ended up going over to the theater department. Let me explain the theater department at Morehouse and give you the very unique situation I was in. Morehouse is surrounded by 4 or 5 other colleges, and we call it the AUC. It's probably the only place in America that's like this, where you have 5 colleges in one area, African American colleges in one area. So you have Spelman, Morehouse. It was Atlanta University during my time. There was Clark College during my time, and Morris Brown. And then you have what's called ITC, the International Theological Center, which is actually 5 colleges in one that makes what's called ITC. So you had all of those there. So when I wanted to go to the theater department, I had to go over to Spelman. So Spelman is all-female school. Morehouse is all-male. Clark is co-ed, and Morris Brown was co-ed. Now we have a little change here. Atlanta University was the graduate school. So Atlanta University and Clark became one. So now you have Clark Atlanta University. Morris Brown is going through a lot of changes right now, and so it didn't get absorbed like everything else. So Morehouse is still separate, Spelman is separate, Clark Atlanta University is separate, and ITC is separate, but we can take classes at all of the institutions. So when I wanted to do acting, I ran over to Spelman. When I wanted to do radio, I ran over to Clark. So I actually attended all of the schools, but you do all your core requirements at your main school. So when I want to study theater, I go to Spelman, and then we have an exchange between science and theater and all these other things. So that was my unique environment. So when I mentioned Lamar Alford earlier, Lamar always did all the programs at Morehouse. He was more of a dramaturge and did all the big programs. Spelman actually had the major. Clark had mass communications. So I got my degree in mass communications with a focus on theater and radio, PR, with a minor in psychology.
Wow.
So,
going to a historically black college and university is really a unique experience.
It is.
And the reason I say this is because they're all, the colleges are always seeking money. They need it to survive.
Yeah. And we need to give them more. We try as much as we can. So all of y'all have money out there. If you want to give something, try considering Morehouse, Spelman, Clark Atlanta University, and ITC.
For a person of color, that's an experience.
Yeah, it is. And it's one of those experiences that I would say it was the best 4 years of my life. I've made friends there that I have for a lifetime. And the interesting thing about it is even people that I didn't think that I knew as well, even today, when we are somewhere and we connect, it's almost like, we never. So it's that kind of sort of thing. And even though just recently, someone reached out to me. They were talking about doing some film project. A hedge fund person who I didn't even know knew I existed at Morehouse says, "I always admired what you did. I was just on this side, and now they want to do something in the entertainment world." So I'm now finding some new ways of working on projects with some people that I never thought I would be working on a project with. So. Long-standing, always ongoing process. And I'm quite sure other colleges have the same thing, but I just find that it's just a very unique experience that you have when you attended any college, but specifically when you attend a historically black college. It is an experience like no other.
My nephew went to Howard University, and I always tease him about the Bisons.
The Bisons, well, look, they have this Morehouse College and Howard University game. Yes. And that's a big, it's a big thing still to this day, big rivalry that's been going on for years. And I, being from Washington, D.C., Howard was my backyard. How I got to Morehouse, I have to thank all those students at Howard back in the late 70s, 80s, because I did all my SAT studies with Howard students.
Gotcha.
And so that's how I got there.
Okay.
So.
Any other education that you picked up?
Yeah, I'm still being educated now. I'm educating myself on how to deal with all of the new forms of technology that we have as an artist. But after I graduated from Morehouse, I actually jumped over to Europe for a little bit, jumped around here and there, came to L.A. I think the biggest education I got from L.A. was I spent 5 years in L.A. not having any union card. I was an extra. On Doogie Howser for a number of years. And I always called that a great education because that's when I first learned how to get around something that's set. I didn't go to New York first. I came to L.A. first. And so I spent 5 years here doing extra work. I worked for a couple of studios. I worked for Lorimar Pictures. I worked for Warner Brothers. I even worked for William Morris for a while. And on top of that, I even worked for Smith Barney. I was moving around, but I was always doing all of that because, one, I needed to have some money to get around town, do what I needed to do, and had some pictures, and I had to do all these other things. So I did all of those particular things, but I learned from each experience. I learned about the music industry a lot, and music producing and things via TV by being at Lorimar and Warner Brothers. I learned a lot through Smith Barney because I learned that options and how people were raising money for things, because I remember working for a lot of distinguished clients that I used to work for. I wasn't a broker. I was a broker's assistant, and I used to teach brokers how to do paperwork. That was what my specialty was. And I used to read, or when people would call in, clients would like to hear me read the stocks to them. That was one of my little specialties. That was before we had all the things. We had a Croton machine. You had to get on the machine and read, and people would call and go, I want to hear Charles to read what was the end of the day for the stocks. I actually used to do that. That was some good practice for my new voiceover career that I'm working on now. So that was like the education for my 5 years there. I spent 5 years, didn't get a union card, didn't get what I wanted to. I went and looked on the board one day. We have this thing it was called the Drama-Log then. It was a newspaper, and then you would go to the union, they would post things on the board here and there, and I saw an audition for the Burt Reynolds Institute for Theater Training. And I went, I auditioned, and because of Ozzie Davis, who was one of the judges, they let you audition, and then they would send the tapes to Ozzie, Ruby, because they were good friends of Burt Reynolds. And then they said, we'd like for you to come to be a part of the Institute. And I was like, okay, but the Institute was in Florida. But I'm in California. It's like, okay, fine, I'm going to go do it. They gave me a scholarship, and my coach at the time was Miss Virginia Capers, who you might remember from Raisin. She got her Tony Award from there, but a lot of people remember her from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. She played James Avery's mom. She was also Diana Ross's mom in Lady Sings the Blues, and so she was very instrumental in making sure I got there. She's like, listen, just go do this. I did it. I left my studio stuff and all of that, and got in my little Nissan Pulsar and drove across the country to get my scholarship at the Burt Reynolds Institute, and got there. And Burt Reynolds used to come and teach classes at midnight.
Midnight?
Yeah, because at that time, he's a late nighter. At that time, he was with Lonnie Anderson. Okay. So, and Evening Shade was on. So they had to tape Evening Shade. So he would fly out after late taping to Florida. And we would take classes with him like from midnight to like 3 a.m. in the morning. Wow. Now, we would be doing that after we would do a play. Now, the thing about the Institute was it was like a conservatory. It was 12 actors brought together in one environment for an entire year. Okay. And we're going to get the certificate of completion. It was hooked up to Florida State University. We didn't have to go to the campus. He had an eminent professor, which was Jose Quintero, who had studied, he went to USC. He was a world-renowned director who did all of Eugene O'Neill's pieces. He was our eminent professor who would come down at the end of the year and talk to us about passion. And we had classes. We took theater. We took Tai Chi, fencing. Wow. I did nothing but theater for an entire year. 6 plays. Everything was geared to what we were doing. I did master class. I did Christmas Carol. I played the Ghost. I played Fezziwig. I did The Time of Your Life. I did I did all kinds of things. So it was a year of exploring. And what ended up happening is that casting directors who I didn't get to see in L.A., they were doing a TV pilot by the name of Grapevine. In Florida. Okay. I was in what's called Tequesta, which is right near West Palm. And then all the TV stuff was happening in Miami. Miami was booming back there in the 90s. So I heard there was this audition, still in my Nissan Pulsar. On my day off, I would ride and travel to Miami. And I got a little agent there, and I would come back and do my little stuff. Now, we weren't supposed to do all of that, but I thought I needed to get a jump based on the fact that I was the only African-American male in the company, and there was only one African-American female. And so we're like, you know what? There was an opportunity. We're going to jump and run and do it. So I got the part. It ended up being a one-shot thing, something that was going to film, that was going to shoot in Florida. Okay. And the casting director was someone I never could meet in L.A. who happened just to be in the Florida area. And she's like, oh, I remember you. I was like, oh, yeah. That's how I got my SAG card. So I ended up getting my SAG card and my equity card, because I went to get my equity card all in one. And I'm going to publicly say thank you, Burt Reynolds, because Burt Reynolds actually paid for my SAG and my equity card, because it was all part of that program.
Wow. Charles, for all the work that you did, it paid off.
So that's how I got my union card.
Paid off.
So that was this will be the 20th, well, I did that program in 91. So actually I'm celebrating 25 years from that program.
Brother, you don't even look 25.
Yeah, well, I am. I'm celebrating 25 years from that program.
Very young looking brother. Very young looking brother. How do you describe or define your style of acting?
You know what? It's interesting. I had just recently been interviewing with a brand new manager.
Okay.
And we'll start with how I describe myself for TV, because it's all, that's always an ongoing process. So for TV, I'm actually considered a character actor, and I think that's a wonderful category for me to be in, because character actors, you will continue to work all the time. But my style, in a sense, is that I am I borrow from a lot of different styles. There are a lot of wonderful different techniques out. And then if you're training, you work with some of the classics, you work with some of the contemporary work, and then you take all of that, and that actually helps you to, that lets your style show, and you still grow through creating your style through the work that you do and all the training that you do. So my style of acting would be, for me, if I had to really put it in a thing, I'm a classically contemporary trained actor in this modern day urban society.
That's okay. All right. Great definition.
So basically, if that makes any sense to anyone, that's just who I am. And in other words, AKA, that's the Charles Reese experience.
Gotcha.
Is what I wonderfully call it. But it's that question can be. It's a very broad question, but I think everyone. I mean, for me, that's the best that I can answer it now. I continue to grow, and I also borrow from other people. I borrow from styles. I mean, one of the things I like about going to movies and watching, you get some of your best acting lessons from theater, especially from live theater, from watching other people. I love watching Viola Davis on How to Get Away with Murder. I love watching, Taraji P. Henson.
Be back on next Thursday.
Thank you. It's finally coming back. I like watching things like American Crime, watching Regina Taylor, go from here to here to here. So, I like watching her Denzels. But I also like watching the Chiwetel Ejiofor. I love all things British. I like watching, I like watching good Maggie Smith. I like David Oyelowo. I'm just liking all the newness. I like Chad. I mean, I'm liking all types of people. I mean, I like DiCaprio's. I like the Pacinos. From all of those people, you can get some amazing things. I mean, there are amazing, a number amazing of Broadway artists that a lot of people don't know about. There's like Lillis White. There's the Andre Shields, who is the original Wiz from the Wiz on Broadway. That man has done so much amazing theater, from the musical side to the straight play side. So I adore his career. I just like all the different things that he actually does. So theater, I think, is the biggest thing that helps you really get your style.
Okay.
TV and film is very technical.
Yeah.
It's very technical, but I think that with good director and other people, you have to depend on a whole village of people. And like you say, if you're in film, TV, your style is based on what the editor does.
Exactly.
I mean, you bring what you bring, you leave it at the table,
right?
And then you get to go home and see, what was that? And we'll see some samples of that a little later. Well, okay, is that what I look like? Oh, okay, that's good. But I'm a growing process when it comes to style, but I do understand that I am a character actor, and I like that because character actors get to do wonderful things. As I mature or as I get older, I can still continue to kind of sort of work and be here, there, and the other.
Okay. Actor starts with A, but you guys have to do a thing called audition.
Oh, that big
word. Can you talk about that?
You know, it's funny. I guess when you first kind of start, no one says, oh, you're going to be auditioning for the rest of your life. I mean, I'm auditioning right now.
Right.
You know, in a sense. But I think in theater, I always start with theater because that's always where I fall back on. Because I can always go and do that. Well, in theater, you know, you got to have a monologue of some sort.
Yes.
Under your belt. And you start there. I remember my first monologue I used to actually audition for graduate school. I did try to audition for graduate programs when I got out, and it was Ron Milner's "Who's Got His Own" was my monologue that I used for graduate school.
Right.
And another Shakespeare piece, or some contemporary Shakespeare pieces. And then after you grow, you start finding other things. And of course, I always keep something on the August Wilson on my belt. But for theater, you always have the monologues, and if you're doing musical theater, you always got to have 16 bars. And people go, why 16 bars? And my 16 bars for a long period of time came from a show called Five Guys Named Mo. And you go to the piano player, you give them your music, you know, you have these people at the table, and you get set, you give them the time that you want to sing, and I always say, well, you gotta get the getting while the getting's good. That was part of my 16 bars. And I would say, thank you very much. And then they would say, sing something else. And so a long period of time, I didn't know whole songs for a while. I just knew 16 bars for like a while. And so that was one of my big things. So I do a little bit of musical theater. I do plays, and then there's TV film. TV film is a whole different medium. I mean, and commercials.
Yes.
You know, you got to hit your slate, got to know some things to do when you get to commercials. Improv is very important in your audition life. But the big thing about auditioning is that getting your material, whether it's a TV show or film, you get what's called sides. You get these sides, you work them out, you try to figure out what your character's doing, and you try to deliver this thing while you're talking to this camera, those people over there, to deliver what you got to deliver, and hopefully you do well, and they'll give you a call back. Get a call back, go to producers, and then boom, they say, hey, yeah. And we're in what's called pilot season right now, so everybody's running around with pilot season. I used to I get excited about pilot season, but right now, my focus is on so many different things. It's just that what will happen will happen. I think there's pilot season all year round. Okay. So I don't kind of sort of worry about it anymore. What's going to happen is going to happen. I have some interest that we'll be talking about a little later that kind of sort of keeps my life busy. But yes, I do want a TV show. I'm working towards that. My own, to be a series regular. We've had some experiences and things that are out there that are still to be sold. We'll talk about that a little later. But you have to get in there. You got to audition. Yes. Got to read your sides. You've got to keep the instrument as there's a lot of things that goes on in an audition process. Some things we have no control over.
Got you.
I recently went to a casting workshop at Screen Actors Guild. That's the wonderful thing about when you're in the union. We have a lot of free services that I actually take advantage of. Yes. So the SAC Foundation provides us with ways where we can actually come see casting directors. It's all online. You have to get in, and once you get in, you get signed up. You actually get to meet the casting director, and you're all in the union. So you're going to go and you're put together in scenes with different people, and it's treated just like a casting session. But it's one way that you get to meet the casting director per se. So when I hear something from that particular casting director, I can tell my people, say, hey, I met that person here. And so that's one of the procedures, ways of getting in to get to see people. So I've been using that of late. So I use all the resources that I possibly can to get what I need to get done to work on this whole audition thing. So I'm going to be auditioning for life.
Because you're an actor 24 hours a day.
Well, pretty much. People always go, well, I always laugh and go, what do you do? I go, well, whatever I'm doing, for me, has a kind of sort of art component to it. I have a consulting life. I am the entrepreneur. So it's like I consult. I do readings around the country. I do web shows. I'm working on VoiceOver World now as you speak.
Okay.
So, always auditioning in some form of fashion. And that's, that's always good for not just artists, but that's just for anything that you're actually doing, period. Okay. Whether you're in the political circuit, that's what they're doing right now. They're auditioning to become
the president.
Right. But it's just done with funding.
Exactly.
So, I was a page once, so, back in my days in Washington, D.C., because we were, trying to become a state back then, which we never
accomplished.
So no representation there, per se. But we have something very unique in Washington, D.C., which is really off the subject matter. But if you're going into audition, you might want to use this. But Washington, D.C., of course, is the capital of the United States. We have a very unique thing when it comes to voting for the president. We get 3 electoral college votes. Because we have something called home rule.
Home rule. Yeah.
So the home rule allows for D.C. to have 3 electoral votes, but we don't have the 2 senators, nor do we have someone in the House of Rep. We have what's called a non-voting delegate.
Yes.
For a number of years. So that's the unique power that D.C. has, is that it doesn't have the representation physically, but it does. It can make a difference in the presidency.
Yes, it can.
You never know when it might happen. So if you're in an audition and you need some information about Washington, D.C. being a special home rule, you can actually use that safely in an improv.
Charles, it's interesting to know one thing about actors. Y'all have to memorize lines. I got a problem with that. How do you do it? What's your technique? How do you do it?
Well, they say you don't memorize lines. You become the character and the lines just come out of you. Believe that if you will, but you do have to work on that. I did a play recently called Breathing Room.
Okay.
Here in L.A. And it was a very technical play because it was just 2 actors and a musician. The real title was called Breathing Room, a chamber symphony with 2 actors and a musician. Right. This woman played this green violin, but we were talking about quantum wave physics.
Gotcha.
And that I played this professor who had to tell the audience about quantum wave physics and this whole modern technological vertigo that we are dealing with and why we're doing all this. And then we also talked about coyotes and all kinds of things. And it was very interesting because there was so much text and dialogue that the other actor and we decided to go to LACMA and go behind the trees and start rehearsing our lines there. We found it was really good to do it that particular way. And we also sat out on, we would go to coffee shops. And so there are just a number of ways where you learn your lines. You get a partner to work with. That's always a good way. I find for me, I used to take a class. I used to post my scripts on the wall, my things on the wall. And I used to just learn everybody's lines.
Okay.
But now I have a new procedure. I kind of sort of will learn the entire script, but I don't always learn all the lines. I want to know where they're coming in, as long as I know where the cues are coming in. But if I listen in correctly, the lines, whatever their lines are doing, I should be able to come up with what I should come up with. That was one procedure I used to live. But these days, there's certain times you just got to learn all of it by rote. But then there's a character that goes with it. So if you learn it with that passion, vigor, and let those lines come in and seep in you, they become like common things, just like the poem "I Teach in America." It's just like clockwork, like we're talking now. I try to, once I get the lines, just try to get them to just seem seamless, and it's constant work. Now I always keep my script with me.
Okay.
During the play, I will have my script, still there. Or I will refer to it on sets. On sets it's a little different because you do get a smaller version of a script, but I need a bigger version there. I remember I was working in this kitchen, and so I would bring my script and I would put it inside the thing. So when they say cut, I could just pull it out, just put it in a little drawer, and then you could pull it out because we didn't have time to run back.
Right.
So you find your own techniques, but I always keep my script around where possible. And, you know, with the other actors, and everybody has different techniques and skills. The nice thing is to key in with people when you're in scenes together. That's a whole different thing. You all get to rehearse it, get to play around with it, and then you get to play off of the other people, you know, that are there. So plays, I still do on the board. I'll go out. I'll try to learn them by heart. I try all different types of things, but you gotta, with the play, you gotta get that word for word pretty much in there, because you remember you got somebody else that's depending on you.
That's right.
And if it's live,
Yeah.
it's there. TV, you get to cut,
Yeah.
and you get to do it over a couple of times. But you know they on time frame, so you got to come, know your stuff, be ready for any changes too, because you know on the slide they might say try something different.
You're watching The Actor's Choice. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. Our very special guest today, actor, author Charles Reese. Charles, you know, as you moved along your career, you became known in the theater community for a critically acclaimed off-Broadway performance of a play called James Baldwin, A Soul on Fire. Oh, my goodness. This is what changed your life, I'm sure.
Well, anytime you're working on an historical figure, it's going to change your life. James Baldwin is, and I say was, I should say, one of the most prolific writers in the 20th century. He's born in 1924, and he passed away in 1987. I became aware of Baldwin kind of sort of very late in my high school days going into my Morehouse days, and I actually got the privilege of running into him once during my Morehouse days, because he was actually in Atlanta doing doing some work around the Wayne Williams case. And people don't remember that case. It was most people call it the Atlanta child murderers. Right. Between 78 to 1980, over 26 young black males were murdered. And they had a gentleman by the name of Wayne Williams up on trial. And Baldwin was hired by Playboy magazine to come do a story. And I ran into him, and he said, "You got eyes like mine." And I looked at him, he looked at me, and I ran. I was young. I didn't know what to do. We heard he was around campus. I knew who he was. I just ran. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I ended up running back to Baldwin and doing a play about Baldwin. Wow. And the reason why I was actually doing the play was because the writer, a good friend of mine named Howard B. Simon, I was like, I needed something to do so that if things weren't working out or weren't going, or there were breaks, I always had something to do. And they always say do a solo show. It was more of a two-character piece, but I played Baldwin, dear friend of mine, Forrest McClendon, who's now a Tony Award nominee, was the other character called Ethereal. And we embodied Baldwin in a way where we didn't do, it wasn't his life story. We found out some history about a secret meeting that James Baldwin did in 1963. And so we wrote around that. That way, we didn't run into issues about Baldwin's work. So we wrote around history. So when Howard Simon said, okay, we're going to do this, he said, all right, I'll have it done in a short period of time. We did some reading, a lot of research here and there. On my birthday, I got this gift as a play. We started reading it, read it in New York. Woody King came, we put it up, workshop production, we put it up. Woody King came, and Woody King is the producer de jour in New York. He said, I'd like to do this piece. He put us on the bill. We did it in 2000. We got this great New York Times review. Sadly, the playwright died during the review, and then we carried on. And to this day, we have published it into a play version. You can get it on Amazon because we made it accessible to people. It is something that I've been doing for and continue to do. It is now a lecture series, and a lot of other things still to come.
Okay, let's take a short look at a video that talks about James Baldwin, Soul on Fire.
All right.
The fist between black and white.
Segregation forever.
These are enemy told. grits, then you try, Flint.
The New York Times says James Baldwin, A Soul on Fire, is the best sort of theatrical biography, the sort that thoroughly entertains. Simon's short play is funny, thrilling, and wise. With humor, style, and raw emotion, it embraces its chosen territory with enthusiasm. Show Business News Weekly says, there are only 2 actors in this story, but you feel the stage is filled with many more. Backstage, the Performing Arts Weekly says, A Soul on Fire is an engrossing poetic display of the religious, political, and internal turmoil that marked the life of one of the great writers of the 20th century, a seamless work of art. The Village Voice says, playwright Howard Simon conjures up a dilemma that neatly captures the conflict Baldwin faced between his art and his activism. The New York Beacon says, this play has it all. History, sexual intrigue, music, laughter, and finally, a celebration of one of America's most brilliant minds.
But now you set my soul on fire, and I really have my fun.
Okay, that was that says a lot.
Laverne Baker.
Yeah, that's who that was.
That's Laverne Baker.
I'll be blessed.
Singing A Soul on Fire. We found that song actually.
Okay.
Actually, Chuck Patterson was our director at that time. You remember Chuck.
Chuck, yes.
From the 5 Heartbeats. He played Diane Carroll's husband.
Yes, right. He did.
Yeah. He found that song, and I was like, wow, I didn't know. We didn't know that song existed. When we were coming up with the title.
Gotcha.
So things that you find, And what's interesting, listening to it, I was laughing because I did the voiceover on that, and someone said, "Do you do voiceovers?" I was like, "No, I don't do a lot." I realized I have been doing voiceovers, and I forgot that we did that some years ago. I'm working on a new voiceover tape, so I don't know if I'm gonna pull that out or not. We'll see.
I call voiceover a gift from God, and brother, you got it.
It's work.
You got it, man.
Thank you. We're going to work on that.
What consideration about James Baldwin were made before you actually did the play?
Well, a lot of considerations were made. One, I think we being the playwright and I, one, he was an amazing writer. He had gone to NYU's writing program.
Okay.
But prior to that, we were actually students at Morehouse together. Oh. So, yeah. So this is a Morehouse person got me to Off-Broadway. Got me a New York Times review. Didn't, I had been auditioning, but remember, let me just backtrack here. Remember I talked about I went to Burt Reynolds Institute.
Right.
I went to Burt Reynolds Institute, then I went to New York, but then I went to Chicago and came back to L.A. That's the part I didn't tell you about. Okay. So I came back to L.A., then I went back to New York to live while he was graduating from the program, and then I started doing children's theater, and then we came back together and talked. He said, "What can I do for you?" And that's how that conversation came. You should have something of your own. So there was a lot of consideration going on what we would do. So when deciding to do James Baldwin, we knew I knew I had my little one meeting with him. And little backstory here: the playwright and I, Howard Simon, we did go to Paris in 1985 looking for Baldwin after I ran away from him. Okay. That's a little part I had to put back in there. But Baldwin wasn't in Europe at the time because he lived in St. Paul de Vence in the southern part of France. So we're there in '85. He wasn't there. He was in the United States, but they didn't have any texting and all that stuff yet. So we were like, okay, we came all the way over here on this ticket.
He must have made a hell of an impression on you.
Well, you know what? I think he's still making an impression. I'm actually. It's always a learning process when you're working on these things. You don't know everything about that person yet. And I am still processing things. Now I've met some family members. I've done a street naming. I've met a sister in Baltimore. And, you start meeting these people and you get other stories. They hear about you. But because we're not using Baldwin's work, we wrote around the history.
I see.
And it's a reimagined meeting. Now, the meeting itself that we focus on in the play is about Baldwin meeting Robert Kennedy. I think I said that earlier. But he brought Lorraine Hansberry, Lena Horne, Harry Belafonte, and Dr. Kenneth Clark to discuss race relations. in New York is where it happened. Okay. And so that is what this particular piece is really all about. It's a tour de force for two African-American actors embodying Baldwin and all of Baldwin's nuances getting ready for this meeting. Okay. And so, and we found out that, getting back to really to answer your question, we found out about that history in a biography that was written by David Leeming, who ended up living around the corner from me in New York. That's another story that we didn't know at the time. Okay. And we became friends, by the way. But we found this history in his book. And so we took this slice of life, and this playwright wrote all of this stuff and created all of this dialogue and language around this little passage that we found in a chapter called Activists.
Let's take a look at another little video just to see about the making of the play James Baldwin.
Okay.
In his writing, we believe, and I can say we now, when I say we, I mean Howard and I believe that a lot of Baldwin's work was really about him and his life, even though he changed the names of the characters, etc., etc., etc. It was about his life experience. He viewed life, and a part of his life was being a preacher, an intellectual, an essayist, a playwright. All of that was put in his work, him growing up in the church, him growing up in Harlem. And then, I guess, for us both as an actor and as a writer, and Howard was also, he was an actor at one point in time as well, because we acted first at Morehouse. And most of our stuff was done like at Spelman College.
Shall it be a raging blue where millions of ancestors drowned, wading through the passage where Tituba flew across? Oh, shall it be the ocean blue? 'Cause blue is what I am, 'cause that man that left me.
Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky.
Oh, Peter!
We approached every line, every stage direction as if we'd never seen it before. Even though these two actors had been working on the play in readings prior, I asked them to put all of their previous notions out of their heads and just deal with it completely afresh. And it was an extremely rewarding experience, because in doing it that way, which was somewhat a new approach to me, we did indeed, in fact, discover everything new and fresh, and at the moment that we were reading, at the moment that we were staging, at the very instant that we got to whatever beat or whatever line or whatever piece of dialogue or business that you see on stage came out of that rehearsal process.
When I was just a little girl, I asked my mother.
Wow.
You know, it was very interesting
Thank
watching
you,
that. And thank you for showing that, because there's two things going on. I was talking about the other actor. The other actor plays a character called Ethereal. And so Ethereal embodies all the other characters in the play, from Lena Horne, Lorraine Hansberry, a character named Peter, and he kind of controls Baldwin's energy to get him to the meeting. And so, and that was Forrest McClendon, who actually right now is preparing to do A Cabin in the Sky that they're doing in New York from February the 10th to the 14th at the City Center.
Okay.
But he's a Tony Award nominee. That he got his Tony Award nomination for the Scottsboro Boys that was on Broadway, and I actually got to see him do it in London just about a year ago.
Okay.
The other actor, the director, I just want to give kudos to him because Chuck is also gone now. He passed away about a year and a half ago. But Chuck Patterson was so crucial to this because he understood all the nuances of what the playwright and helped us go from page to the stage.
Gotcha.
And so what he was actually explaining, which was really wonderful, he talked about, we had rehearsed the play a couple of times before he came on board just to do a reading. But we actually sat at the table and just read, and he would not let us get up until we actually understood. So another thing about learning your lines, you can learn all your lines, but it's like you now need to know them this particular way.
Gotcha.
And before I started, so I just want to give kudos to Chuck Patterson, Forrest McClendon, and the gentleman who put all those video things together that you see. His name is Sean O'Halloran, and he was actually our video person from the day we started back in 1999.
Ouch. Ouch. Did you guys ever take the play out of the city or out of the country?
No, we're still working on that. What happened to us is that after, like I told you, the playwright passed away, we were supposed to go to London and a few other places, and 9/11 came, and all the money dropped out of the sky. Wow. So therein lies what we started doing was we started just doing things domestically. We started screening things. I was working for a museum in New York as a cultural curator, and so I would bring in conversations around the play. We would do stage readings, and then it grew into this thing of its own where I just started winning grants for just talking about the play for a period of time. So we kept the life of the play running through readings and all kinds of things. Now recently, when I was in London, got a little action in London because there's a possibility we might go do it in London and start there with a tour. And I had a lot of hair then, so I'm going to get a wig now. I'll be like Samuel Jackson. I'm going to get me a Baldwin wig, and that's what we'll do. There are people who can make it. So that's the wonderful joy about it. And we might do some other little things to be more Baldwin-esque. I mean, when you're doing plays, I always tell the people, I'm just embodying the spirit of Baldwin at best at this particular point in time. When we go into a film or something like that, we'll have other opportunities to try some other things where we might get more of a closer look. But in the play, you get to embody the spirit.
Now you get a chance to go around to colleges and universities and lecture on this.
Yeah, that's the new process. It's called the James Baldwin Literary and Conversation Salon Series. So we're kind of like taking the Harlem Renaissance feel. And it's kind of sort of an hour and 15 minutes. You get me, you get a couple of pieces of the play. I have a little video that goes from the 60s all the way up into the day. And we use the play, excerpts from the play, to really ignite a dialogue. So I actually really have a dialogue with the students that I'm working with at that particular point in time. So it's like a 2-day residency where I come in. Usually I'll do a public salon whereby everyone can come in. You can invite the public, and then I'll go into the classroom setting to the class that actually invites me in. It's a one lecture fee. I do it all year round. People always say, "Oh, we're going to just do it on Black History Month." I said, listen, I can do it 365. So it's just me coming in. I bring my little clip. They give me a little computer. I do what he's doing now. I have my little footage up that I want to show here and there, and I give you actually live excerpts from the piece with it. And I lead the conversation. How we lead the conversation is very exciting for me is because when I finish the piece, I always ask the students or whoever the public people are there is to, in one word, just tell me what they feel about what they just saw. And I just go around the whole room and we use those words to start conversation.
I see. We had another actor come in here, Stogie Kenyatta, and he does.
Yes, I know Stogie.
And it's just amazing to see actors of your quality just get out there and talk about it because you're keeping his spirit, the spirit of Mr. Baldwin alive. A lot of young kids, they don't know him, young blacks especially.
Well, a lot of people in general. When I was in London, someone came to me and she said I had never heard of James Baldwin, and she went and she Googled and then she tweeted. Because I did about 3 different salons in London about over a year ago. I did it in one in Brixton, because Brixton has a black cultural arts center. I did one in Camden Town, and I did one in Notting Hill, or Laverick Grove, as they call it, the little area, a little store called Book and Kitchen. So I was around London doing all these salons. Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever want to see this play made into a movie?
That's the next step. That's always the goal.
Gotcha.
I think I have been invited to go to Paris in May, which I'll be working on a campaign and raising funds and all that to get there. It's called the James Baldwin International Festival. It's going to be at the American University in Paris.
Okay.
May the 26th to the 28th. I am on the 28th, the morning of 28th at 9 a.m. at the American University in Paris. It's about people from all around the world is gathering, and we're going to deal with Baldwin for 3 whole days.
Ouch.
And that is where I'm going to be advocating a Baldwin film. I'm going to start that. I mean, there have been other people advocating, but I'm going to. I figured that if I'm there, Paris is the place to hit it, and I have all these people there. I'm presenting a paper called James Baldwin, Artists as Activists, and the Baldwin Kennedy Secret Summit of 1963. So basically, I'm going to present a paper around the play that I've actually been doing.
Okay.
And that
you will.
Yeah, thank you. So
Yes.
you'll see things about that coming soon.
Then you've done film. And you have an extensive career in film. One of the films, just because we're running out of time, I just want to make sure people get a chance to see. In 2010, you did a movie called Who. Can you tell us a little bit?
Well, Who is actually a web show, and Michael Jacque, who was here last week, was the producer of that. Who is a comedy web series. It's 12 episodes. It's about 2 black women who get together and talk about people vis-a-vis pop culture. And I play the kind of sort of the timekeeper, the chef that prepares them food in between all of these shenanigans that they go through. So my character is Jaleel, and his last name happens to be Baldwin. I don't know why that happened. And so we kind of sort of that kind of sort of what started the Los Angeles Web Festival, having these web shows that Michael Jacque put together. We did 12 of them, and he did it on his own TV channel called JacqueTV.com, and it was a great experience. I actually, when I came in, I was only supposed to do a couple, and I didn't have any lines on the first 3 episodes, so that's how that goes. And then next thing I knew, we did 12. And Chanel G. Lorraine, who actually runs Southern Girl Desserts, was in it. She was one of the main characters. She played Dina. Nafisa Monroe played Tina. And they were the 2 women who would talk about different things, and I would come in and do what I had to do. And it was lots of fun. And it moved on to be developed into an actual TV show that we actually shot 3 years ago. So it's up for grabs. We did 9 episodes. Someone may grab it while we're speaking.
Hey.
You never know.
You never know.
So Michael's been a supporter of giving actors a lot of different work. So the web show also did go to Marseille, France. And it was one of the first African-American web series that actually did go to France. And I actually ended up going back to France hosting that actual festival.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a short video about Who.
Who? WHL. Let's see what happens here.
How was the fruit?
I don't know. Let me lick you.
Wrong. I have a job.
I have a job too. I'm a chef, not your servant. Puta! No, she's the puta. She's the princess. Puta, princess. Puta, princess. Puta, puta, puta.
I am not your puta, doctor.
So how was your first day, Christophe?
Today is listening day. Tomorrow is talking day. We have a system. Lord, I'm trying to walk the path, but this demon is tempting me to revert to my gangster ways.
Look at that. You can't teach that. That's natural.
No, that needs to go to the gym. Martine is a diamond in the rough. To diamond buffing. Don't worry, Gaston. I like it rough. And that goes for you too, Pierre. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Cheers.
How does it feel when you just let everything go?
I like that. What was all this? What was all that? What was this?
You know what? Michael Jacquet is really funny. You know, we were, that was Nafisa Monroe. We were just playing around on the set. You know how you go, cat fight, and it got in. It got in, and it was just one of those things where it got in.
When I first saw the video, I said, "That has got to be fun."
It was fun. They were fun. Yeah, it was fun. I love those women. You know, they made that show work really well.
Got you.
I was just happy to be hanging out.
Got you.
Yeah.
Charles, you do a lot of things. You do a Juneteenth festival. Can you tell us about that too?
Yeah, for like about 10 years. Actually, I hosted a Juneteenth festival in Brooklyn, New York, and Fort Greene. Actually started with these organization called TCC. And they produced this Juneteenth celebration, and they still do it. I actually hosted for about 10 years. June was my last year of hosting because I've got to go to Paris this year. So, but it was great. We celebrate Juneteenth in New York. Everyone knows that it came down from Galveston, Texas in 1863 when the Emancipation Proclamation happened. Right. People didn't get into 1865. Right. So 1865 brings about Juneteenth, which is now considered the official ending of slavery as we knew it in the United States, in the southern states. Mm-hmm. But what was so specific about Juneteenth being celebrated in Brooklyn is that we're celebrating Fort Greene on Oxford and Lafayette is a church called the Presbyterian Church, which actually has an underground safe passageway that they believe that slaves actually did come through, that we actually do tours. And so we were making sure that people knew about that actual history. So that's why it's done in that particular area. Brenda Brunson Bay and a lot of wonderful small businesses help put that on every year. So it's been going on since, it's been over 15 years.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much for giving back to our young about their own history, because a lot of them don't even know it.
We try.
Yeah, we try.
We try the best we can.
This question I always ask, and that is, how do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to be remembered? Oh, that's a big question. How do I want to be remembered? I just simply want to be remembered as a person who continued to go where his blood beats.
That says a lot.
And that comes straight from a James Baldwin quote.
Okay.
It's a wonderful. Actually, it's a wonderful essay about going where your blood beats, and probably that's all I can do while I'm here on this planet. So as I go, I always try to go where my blood beats.
Yes. Well, my brother, you bring a spirit to everyone who ever meets you, who knows you. Well known in this town, no question about it. Any other projects you got going on right now?
Paris, I got two things coming up that are really that are fun. One, in April, on April 1st, I'm actually going to be a part of a panel with James Baldwin and Audre Lorde for an organization called the Americans Association for Writers Program here in Los Angeles at the JW Marriott. I'm going to be on a panel. So I'll send you the link to all of that.
Okay, so we'll get to that topic.
Yeah, and then I do some consulting and programs with Pasadena City College through the Jackie Robinson Lecture Series. And we're going to be, on April the 21st, we're going to be doing a program around Octavia Butler. Yeah, they're going to be celebrating Octavia Butler for an entire year. It's an organization called Clop Shop. And we, as programmers for PCC, decided it would be great to partner with them. So we're actually going to be doing a program. We're going to have Tanana Redu, Steve Barnes, and a number of people to talk about the work and activism that you can find in sci-fi. And we're going to tie in the Black Lives Matter with that.
Man, that's going to keep you busy for the next 1,500 years.
No, but that's just April. That's just a one-off. That's a one-off there, and then Paris. And so I'm hoping to stay in Paris for about a month and a half to advocate for this film, and then I come back to the regular world or get back to auditioning.
Well, Charles, we want to thank you very much for coming in today,
Thank you.
sir.
I appreciate
It's been a
it.
pleasure. I wish we could talk for another hour.
Well, you know,
or so.
an hour is good. It went by fast. You sure, sir? Was that a whole hour?
Something like that.
Wow. Well, thank you so very much, and peace and blessings to you. And I'm looking forward to checking out all the things that you do.
And I hope they make a movie out of it, because I know you'll play Mr. Ball.
We shall see.
We shall see.
You know, listen, I'll produce it.
Yes.
You know, timing is everything.
Yes, it is.
I would love to play it.
Thank you.
All right.
We've had a moment with Charles Reese. We thank you very much for joining us. See you next time. I'm Ron Brewington. Take care.